Welcome to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. I am your host, Sharna Southan. I am an angel mum, a rainbow mum, a pregnancy loss practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I created the Institute of Healing Through Pregnancy Loss out of my own experience with loss in the hopes to provide understanding and healing, educating people on pregnancy loss, and creating more women or men in trained support roles. In this podcast, I hope to shed light on what I wish I knew in relation to pregnancy loss, opening up the conversation, breaking the stigma, and bringing real-life stories plus guest experts. Thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, beautiful souls, to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. Today, I have with me the beautiful Jelissa. She is the mama of Yvette, who unfortunately passed during a 19-week routine checkup. Yvette was conceived via IVF as her and her spouse were trying to conceive for 6 years and finally became pregnant after their first try. Yvette passed away on May 18th, 2021. Ever since then, Jelissa has been creating a safe and supportive space. She is a baby loss peer mentor, support group facilitator, student studying for her master's to become a therapist, a content creator, and just recently became a pregnancy loss practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us, Jelissa.
Thank you. I didn't realize I was doing all that stuff in my life when you list for them all up like that. It's nice to hear.
I know, it's when you write it all down, you're like, oh, I actually am accomplishing something.
Yeah, because because I guess because there was just a point in my life where I wasn't doing anything when Yvette died. And now it's like I'm like doing everything, I feel like, which is I never thought I would be here in that place, actually.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like you don't actually, when you go through these really tough and dark times, it's really hard to see how you can actually make it through and do anything with your life after that. So, I really applaud you for being able to use your experience and then step into a space where you're now using it to guide and support others, because that'd be the driving force. Like, you don't want anyone else to feel that pain and isolation that you did. So you want to be able to lessen that for others. So yeah, I'm really grateful that you're in this space and you're able to dig deep and use your experience to relieve the weight for other people.
Yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome. Did you want to share a little bit more about your path to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. So I did become a lost parent in 2021. That was my first pregnancy, my first baby, my first everything, my first IVF cycle. And after I found out that that Yvette passed away, um, I self-sabotaged a lot, and it was a thought like, well, I'm just gonna do it because I really don't care what happens to me. I didn't care anymore about my health, about my mental health, about making good decisions. I didn't care about anything, so I was just doing whatever, making unhealthy choices. And um there came a point where I like woke up one day and I was sort of like, I can't continue to live my life this way. I can't continue to be like severely depressed where it's making me so physically sick. So I think also with the help of my therapist at the time, she really pushed me to like find something for myself. And she really encouraged that I find a purpose. And at that time, I started my social media page where I was talking a lot about pregnancy loss and posting a lot of content about miscarriages and everything that I was going through just for an outlet for myself. And I, with that page, I began to see how much in pain I was in and how dark of a hole I was in. And with being able to find my purpose within the community, it really came from like I was just really tired. I was tired of myself. I was tired of how I was treating myself and how I was acting towards myself. So I saw a lot of women that, felt the same way. And I really wanted to be a support system for other women because I didn't have anyone to support me. And so I just kind of wanted to flip it around and be able to help other women like no one helped me. So it was like a complete 360 um when I never thought I would be here. I never thought I would be helping other women or anything like this. I pictured my life just being extremely dark and depressed and sad and like, all these things. So I am grateful that I guess it's like an epiphany, but I don't really know if I want to call it an epiphany. Um, where I was just really tired of how I was treating myself.
It's just like an awakening, isn't it? Like you just feel like
Yeah, that
all
sounds
of
better than epiphany.
yeah. It's just all of a sudden you feel like you're awake and you're like, "Wait a minute, how how have I been treating myself?" And you kind of just start to see things a little bit more clearer and then go,
Mhm.
"Okay, no, that's actually not how I want to, you know, take my life moving forward." But
Yeah.
like you said, it's very, very easy to get caught in that darkness,
Mhm.
um, where everything has lost its meaning. Like your whole life
Mhm.
in that point has lost its meaning. So you're like, well, this is the thing that you wanted and it got taken away from you. So why should you even try anymore?
Yeah.
Um, and then to not have the support, not have someone on the outside of you to go, you know what, this is shit, but you can be okay at some point and I can support you out of that.
Mhm.
And it seems to be like such a common part of women's stories is that support just isn't there, that understanding isn't there,
Mhm.
and they navigate it in such isolation and darkness, and don't have that person on the outside to say, I'm here with you and we can do this
Mhm.
together.
Mhm. Yeah, I kind of feel like it felt like a desert where there's no one in sight for such a long time and you're by yourself and it's so hot and you're exhausted and um I feel like when you have support, it's definitely a lot more helpful, but when there is no one there who understands you, it definitely makes things a lot more harder. And it's not like I mean, I'm saying like I did have support, but it was not the support that you would imagine someone should have. And it made me feel a lot worse about myself, it made me judge myself, made me question like why am I taking so long to grieve? People are telling me to stop crying or um like you need to hurry up and like heal already so you can move on. And I judged myself, like, why am I not moving on so fast? Why am I crying every single day? Like, shouldn't I be over this already? So I did have like that negative influence in my life because, fresh out of a loss, you don't know. You don't know how you're going to feel. You don't know what to do about your emotions. You don't know what any of your emotions even mean. Um, so there was no one there for me to validate how I felt. And I mean, yeah, of course, I had my husband, but he was also like, it's going to be okay. Like, yeah, after a while, he very much understood how to support me and validate me, but it took a while because, I definitely learned that not everyone knows how to support you after loss.
Yeah, and like you said, I had so you do sometimes, or some women do have that support, like it could be family, but it's still not someone that's kind of been through it to say what you're feeling is normal, and it can take
Mhm,
however long it takes. Like, and when you're going through it with your partner, obviously he's navigating it in real time as you are, trying to find his footing, trying to find how he can support you and also navigate what he's feeling.
mhm,
So it is, yeah, unless you've got someone on the outside of you that has gone through it,
mhm.
even finding a therapist or a counselor that hasn't gone through it always felt like there was something missing, like that
Yeah,
that extra bit of that validation or like deep understanding of, you know what, like I actually get it. I get what you're going through,
mhm,
because it's not just, you know, it's grief, but it's not normal grief. Like there's so
mhm.
many different elements to that grief that no one understands unless you have gone through it yourself.
Yeah, and I started seeing a therapist who at first I was like, I just want like someone experienced in grief. And so I had this therapist. Um, and she basically just wanted to like figure out why I had a miscarriage. And it was very frustrating for me because at the time I wasn't going through the process of trying to figure out why. Um, I mean, I haven't even received my daughter's urn, so it was just like all too soon for me. Um, and then that just like she asked me so many medical questions and it just felt very intrusive. And I'm like, you're my therapist, like help my brain and stop trying to figure out what's wrong with my body. And then I started seeing a different therapist and I felt like I'm not sure if it was good or bad, but I felt like forced to understand like you're gonna like be sad. Like so just be sad. Like just like take it in, like be fucking sad. And it felt like, like not with an empathetic voice, but it's like you do understand that you're going to cry. You do understand like and I'm like, first of all, I don't understand. That's why I'm in therapy, because obviously my mind can't wrap around all of the things that are going on right now. So like maybe educate me on like why I might be feeling this way or why I'm spending so much time like having certain type of thoughts where yeah, everyone knows the 7 stages of grief, but you don't know the very in-depth and the physical symptoms and like the icebergs and there's just like so many things that you don't know. And I think if somebody would have educated me, that would have been really, really nice to
Mm.
have.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it isn't someone specific to loss itself, just someone to sit with you and validate how you are and what you're navigating at that time. Um,
Mhm.
so you can get to that point where you're like, okay, now I can start, you know, seeing myself a little bit more or understanding a little bit more or being able to process a little bit more. But when you're in the depths of it, you don't need someone on the outside of you to tell you, like, this is how you should be feeling.
Yeah.
When you're navigating this for the first time. You're like, no one, you're not prepared, you're not educated, you're not taught how to process this experience. It's like, help me understand
Mhm.
what's actually going on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really all I wanted. I re like, literally, now, like, going back, I knew that I just needed someone to just educate me and tell me, like, and, number 1, like, validate my feelings. Number 2, like, educate me on my grief. But I don't know, maybe because it wasn't a perinatal mental health therapist or someone who had experience with pregnancy loss or something, that it it just didn't work out or something. But it was it was frustrating. I went through 4 therapists, and I'm just getting a new one starting next week. Um, because I feel like it took me, honestly, I think it took me 2 years to really learn about how I was feeling, and then especially getting diagnosed with PTSD, that answered a lot of my questions, um, as to why I would disassociate. I honestly think too, like, going to school and taking, um, a psychopathology class, like, helped me kinda diagnose myself and see the symptoms of what I was going through, because I feel like the system kind of ignored me and what I was going through.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like, I guess it's the therapist's job too to kind of understand what personality type they're dealing with. Um, because someone might just want to go in and cry, and that's fine. But someone actually might want to go into therapy and go, I actually need to know, like, tell me what's happening, tell me what I'm feeling, help me understand this for myself.
Mhm,
And that's where I think a lot of women say that there's a lot of missing pieces when they come out of therapy. They feel like they're left still, you know, feeling like they didn't quite get what they wanted or quite get what they needed. Um, and for you, you needed to know probably a little bit more sometimes than what other people might need to know. But you sound a lot like me too. Like I want to know for myself what's actually happening. It's almost
mhm,
like you want to sort of, give me all the information, give me everything, because then I can support myself too. And I
mhm,
think that's where with therapy, with myself, I I would go and see my psychologist, but then I'd fall apart in between each of my sessions with her. And I didn't
mhm,
have the tools to actually support myself in between. I would spiral out of control. I was diagnosed with high functioning anxiety and depression. I was like, I physically couldn't, I was incapable of being in the present moment. My
mhm,
mind and my body were just like it was being torn. And, I wasn't given the tools to cope. And I felt like every time I
mhm,
went to my psychologist appointments, I'd be back at square one. I'd be back at the bottom going, help me again. But for
mhm.
me, I was the type of person too. I'm like, give me the tools, give me the knowledge, give me the awareness. And, that just wasn't there either. Um, so I'm grateful for you to be able to then go, you know what? I needed that for myself. And then you've gone and now created it for other women to be able to, you're learning about it and you're creating things for other women to be able to start to step into a safe place, to be deeply seen and understood, and to, have that community as well of like people that actually do get you.
Yeah.
Um, so do you want to share a little bit about what you have been working on as well for lost moms?
Sure. Um, so actually, almost a year ago, kind of crazy where time has gone, but almost a year ago, I started an event called Lost Mama Connection event, which is a virtual event. Um, and it sort of started by like what was missing in this community of grieving mothers. And I sort of felt like maybe an event per se where all these moms can come together and chat with each other. Um, there's also like a class or a session where there's a hot grieving topic. So like, like how to set boundaries with family members or how to understand your triggers, etc. And and then you also have the place where you can just hang out with another mom, like sort of like this, where you're speaking one on one to someone. Um, just so you have like a place where you don't feel alone and you have another lost mom that you can meet, that you can talk to, and not feel judged and have someone understand exactly how you're feeling and what you're going through instead of like going to a mixer somewhere, in real life or something, and literally no one understands you. Like, no one understands your thoughts, your feelings, or how people feel awkward when you bring up your child's name or that your child's dead, even though they asked you if you have kids. So it just became a place where I really wanted a place where everyone to be able to just feel open and comfortable with themselves there. And then just recently, well, I'm still in the process of starting my coaching program. Um, but I'm excited to, um, continue to put all of the little parts and pieces together to start my baby loss coaching program very soon, so that I can also support grieving moms one on one. And then eventually, since I'm going to school, I guess I should add, um, I'm going to school to be a social worker, and in like 2 years, which feels like forever, um, my goal is to be a therapist so I can also take on grieving mothers who have Medicaid, or like here in the US, like Medicaid or insurance, instead of charging, therapists charge like $200 or something to help someone. So I want to take Medicaid and be able to help low income households.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was actually going to say, since finishing the practitioner certification, that that you're in the process of creating your baby loss support program. So, you know, definitely if you're in the baby loss space, following Jelissa and checking out what support she's going to actually be offering, because that's going to be an incredible resource for healing and recovery, um, for anyone navigating loss in general, because it's something that is so missing from the current system. And I love that you're going to be obviously offering, I guess in Australia, it's probably like Medicare. It's like a government system where that it's kind of paid for, or
Yeah, like a government funded
subsidized.
insurance. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I'm, you know, to be able to offer that as well will just, be able to extend your reach and extend that healing and recovery to others, navigating that. And again, it's a space that is just missing support and understanding. Um, and hopefully in the years to come, the conversations, the willingness for women to be able to open up and talk about their babies and have society accept the responses that women have. Because like you said, you're asked, society's asking the questions. Be okay with the response that you're going to get, because a lot
Yeah.
of women are going through loss.
Mhm.
And a lot of women want to talk about their babies, and there's not a lot of spaces that allow that.
Mhm.
But hopefully in the years to come, society, when we can start to step into that space and allow women to talk about their loss, be confident, and start healing and recovering, these conversations can become more prevalent in society as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, because I mean, like you get so fed up with there not being enough resources for you as a grieving parent. So you have to make your own, which is like, I wish there was more out there, but you're taking it into your own hands.
Mm.
And especially with a parent who has that experience of loss. So at least there's one more support out there for grieving parents.
One in 4 pregnancies will result in miscarriage. 1 in 8 women will experience infertility. 1 in 100 women will experience recurrent miscarriage. And 1 in 160 births end in stillbirth. Have you been wanting to make a difference in the lives of women or men who have experienced pregnancy loss because you can see so many suffering in silence, but you just don't know how? Collectively, we can change how bereaved parents can access mental, physical, and emotional support after their experience. There is a lot of women with unhealed trauma, and there is a huge gap in the current support system when it comes to bereaved parents' recovery after loss. There are too many women and men suffering in silence. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is a worldwide, one-of-a-kind program that gives you proven methods designed for healthcare professionals, medical staff, midwives, nurses, doulas, birth workers, coaches, and angel parents alike. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is bridging that gap. It will give you a proven support structure to follow and education specific to pregnancy loss, created by a lost mum. It is creating more education specifically for loss so that you can enhance your service and become the point of difference. Or you can create the support that you so desperately needed in your healing after loss. This is the next level of growth and expansion you have been searching for. So does this sound like something that you have been searching for? Let's explore this more together. You can head to the episode show notes where you'll find the program application, or direct message me on Instagram and let's open up the conversation in how you can use this education. You have a gift, and I look forward to supporting you and witnessing you bring your gift to the world, healing and transforming women's lives. And I think it'll be it'll be really nice. It'll be like a breath of fresh air to be able to have someone that they can turn to that actually can support them through what they're navigating, but also be the person to say, I get it. I see you. I
Mhm.
understand your pain. And be able to support them, not just in the sessions, but in life as well, empower them with the tools so that they can go out and they can actually take on life and not feel like as soon as they step away from you, that the whole world is crashing down again.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love that you've been able to do this, to have the capacity to do this, because not everyone can. And there are so many women out there who are hurting, who are grieving, that need that person to go, take my hand and we can do this together and you will be
Mhm.
okay. But from a place of understanding, not just, a textbook.
Mhm.
Um, so, I'm really grateful that you've been able to create, obviously, already these Lost Mama Connection events. How have they gone? Have you been able to get a lot of women, coming to them and
Mhm.
connecting?
Yeah, so I really love these events, and I love every single speaker. I'm always like, "This is such a good, like, topic we're talking about," but I say that about every single topic we talk about because there's literally so many things to speak on when it comes to grief that, I'm still learning to this day. Um, we do have it's 100 free tickets at each event, and we get, like, 70 to 80%, um, seats occupied. Um, I the community has been giving me really great feedback because 'cause I'm the type of person that I'm like, "No, everything's wrong, it's just all wrong," and people are like, "What are you talking about? What's perfect?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I, question, my whole entire life.
Yeah.
Um, Something that I do a lot now since Yvette passed away, I it's hard for me to make decisions, and it's hard for me to not try not to be perfect. So, um, but without, like, the feedback from the community, I'm not sure, like, where I would be. Like, I think just with them rooting me on is what really makes me, like, helps me keep going.
Mm. It would just and it would give you, it would give you the confidence, obviously, that what you're creating is amazing, and is what they need.
Mhm,
Um, and then it would give you the trust in yourself as well, um, to keep going and keep creating because obviously it is what they need and it's obviously you're getting really great feedback. So,
mhm,
yeah, absolutely keep going with that. It's something that's not offered enough. And there's obviously a lot of women that are going to be needing that type of or wanting that type of connection,
mhm.
because you can't open up to everyone about your story. And some women, like, it's just they want to talk about it, um, and they don't have anyone to talk about it to. So it's a really powerful
Mhm.
space that you're creating.
Yeah, it's, like, kinda weird when you meet someone in person and they're like, "Do you have kids?" And they're like, "No, my baby died." And they're like, "My baby died too." And I'm like, "Oh my god, look at us." Look at us, we're out here. I it's just I honestly, when I created my social media account, I thought I was, like, one of few,
Mm,
I'm like, I need somewhere to, like, talk about how I'm feeling because no one freaking understands, like, what I'm going through. And then, like, you get so many stories and so many DMs and so many comments, and you're like, "There's a lot of
mhm.
women out there going through this," and it's insane when you see the amount of women that you talk to versus doctors who are saying, like, miscarriages aren't, um, so common when in fact it's, like, the most common thing ever. It just happens way too often, and for there not to be enough resources, it just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, it's just such a missing piece in the current system. It blows my
Mhm,
mind too, like with how many women are kind of they get lost in the system. They go to like their doctor's appointments and or hospital and then they're sent home with nothing. But then there's no
mhm,
follow-up, there's nothing. And it's almost like they're just lost.
mhm.
Um, there needs there needs to be more support and it baffles me that there's not, and it baffles me that
Yeah,
there is that many women that are going through loss, and there's not more GPs or more medical professionals out there who are willing to kind of step into that space and acknowledge it and offer something a little bit more. But we are, we're going to be creating something um, incredible for the women now and for the women in years to come. So definitely keep showing up, keep doing what you're doing, and keep creating and keep offering that support, because there's women out there that need it.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me of um I actually met this girl who lives in this area, and she also had a loss, and we went to the same OB office, and almost like at the same time, maybe like 5 months apart. Um and I went in for my checkup after my, you know, giving birth and stuff, and I was crying, like obviously crying in the office. And he was like, just make sure you're working on your mental health. And I'm like, okay, I mean, sure, like I'll do what I can. And then she tells me that she was referred to a therapist in that office who specializes in baby loss. And I couldn't believe, like, why wasn't I referred to them? I was like literally on the hunt for a therapist, and they had one sitting in the office the whole entire time. And that, like, really, made me question, like, a lot of things in regards to the medical field, like, I didn't understand.
Mm, that just, yeah, I can't understand that way, that processing. Like, was it the same doctor, or was it a different doctor in the same
It was a
office?
different doctor. Yeah, it was a different doctor in the same
Same
office because
office.
it's like it's like an office of, like, 6 or 8 OBs or something. And, yeah, mine was just like,
So
"Yeah,
obviously, yeah,
just I see
yours.
you're tearing up, like, work on your mental health, like, take care of yourself." And I'm like, "Okay." And
So
I'm
what?
literally crying, and it just felt like that was like a massive PTSD moment there. I walked back to my car crying to death, and I parked in the same spot where I found, when I went the day I found out that
Mm,
Yvette died. I parked in the same spot, took the elevator up, and I took the same down, and just, like, felt like a whole entire event all over again. But
mm.
I was just like, "All right, no one cares about me." Awesome.
Yeah, I know, and it absolutely would feel that way, that it was a personal thing. Like, no one cares about you, because, like, why weren't you referred to this person? And obviously the doctor, for some reason, didn't want to do it, didn't see the need in it, and for some reason left you feeling like you had to figure all of this out on your own.
Mhm.
And I don't understand. I just don't get it, how there was one in office, and he didn't didn't refer you on to them.
Yeah.
Because absolutely, that's where the trauma starts. It's from,
Mhm.
it's from our medical, system. It's from when you go to see your doctor, or it's from the hospital, like how you're treated in the hospital. And then, if you're not given the understanding, if your experience is dismissed or downplayed, your nervous system is on like high alert. It's in threat. It's in overdrive. And then, if you're not given the understanding, or the compassion, or the empathy, or the support that you're needing in that moment, it creates those imprints in your body, which then you take with you, and you self-sabotage, and you say, I'm not worthy, because, no, like, why wasn't I referred to that person?
Mhm.
um and then it creates this extra layer of healing and recovery that you need to navigate, on top of your loss, on top of the grief, on
Mhm.
top of everything else that you will be feeling and thinking about yourself.
Mhm.
I'm so sorry that, you know, you found that out and you weren't referred to that therapist, because in that moment everything could have been so different for you.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I think it could have saved me at least 2 years of, mental health struggles. Uh, I also, because I asked her, I was like, "Oh, once I start my coaching program, I wanna go and offer, like, give them my flyers or my business card or whatever, so I can offer my services. Because you have women walking out of this office and not receiving any resources." But then when she told me that, I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting." And then, I left the hospital too, and they just gave me, like, one piece of paper. They gave me, like, a box and, nice and but, like, for resources, they gave me a list of, like, cremation services and a list of, support groups, but, like, only one of them was active. So, I'm like, "You guys really need to update this stuff. You can't have me calling all these places, and they're like, 'Yeah, we don't have that group anymore,'" you know?
Mm,
It's just there's just so many, like, holes and everything's, like, falling through and no one is putting in the work. It feels like no one is like it feels like there isn't enough passion for what these women are going through, what I went through. There's, like, nothing there to help us. It's lacking in so many ways, and that's why so many women are so passionate when you're talking about loss or when someone asks you an inappropriate question. That's why we become so passionate in our response because I mean, so many things were taken away from us. So why can't we respond the way that we want to respond?
mm, yeah. And it's becoming a little bit more these days. Well, when I was obviously going through my loss, there was no one talking about it. Um, but I see so many more women becoming more confident in themselves to be able to respond the way that they want and
Mm,
speak up about their loss. Um, but yeah, there's definitely needs to be more passionate support, like you said. Needs to be more people that want to see that change and want to fill those gaps and allow women to be able to talk more openly and freely about their stories and about their losses and access support that is
mhm.
active, that is actually, you know, and you could be the type of person, you could be that person that'll be on the list now that they refer
Yeah,
to and go, well,
and I
actually,
better be on that list,
yeah.
you know?
And
Um,
you're offering both, support events and, coaching services that they can attend. So, you know,
mhm.
there's multiple different ways that they'll be able to access something that is currently going, that is currently supporting women. And you're not having to, because when you're grieving, you don't want to be chasing groups down that are inactive.
Yeah,
Um,
you
that's not,
want accessibility.
yeah.
That's what really pisses me off about the whole entire thing. There's, like, very limited accessibility. You expect to use the postpartum directory that they have here in the US, and when you call the therapist office, that the therapist is actually practicing.
Mm,
You should expect those things, and, like, just update the website, update the system, like, just update and be proactive, like, thinking of, oh, just thinking of others, you know? Like, think of, like, yourself in these shoes and then do what you would do. Like, I don't know why it's just for some people, it's just so hard to think about others. It's
mm.
obviously making me mad.
Which is why you're so passionate about what you do. And that's the thing, like, it takes a lot of courage to reach out in those moments to go, you know what, I need support. And it takes a lot of courage to reach out and make a phone call or try to make a connection. And then if they're not there or they're not practicing, like that moment of courage, just almost that gets taken away from you as well. You're like, oh, well, why bother?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a when I was looking for another therapist that specialized in perinatal mental health, I called 10. And by like the eighth one, I had a massive breakdown. And I was like, why is there no services? Why is there no one helping us? Like, what the hell is going on? And and then you finally get one and then you have to wait like a month or something to make an appointment. Um, but it was I think that's probably also what led me that's definitely what led me to starting school and becoming a social worker because the lack of resources in like the therapy world is like it's horrible. Like there
Mm,
really isn't much out there, especially like being certified in perinatal mental health. There
mm.
really isn't many people on that list.
No, there's not. And it's unfortunate because and then that's where a lot of women fall through the cracks in the system, or they try therapy and it doesn't work, so they walk away and they don't necessarily go back for anything more.
Mhm.
Um, but then they're still carrying that pain. They're still carrying all of the weight, as well as maybe, I'm broken because therapy didn't work for me, and therapy is meant to work for everyone. Um, so, it's such a, it's definitely a place that needs to be worked on. And
Yeah.
your name will be there up in lights soon enough.
Yeah.
But like in the meantime, you've got a lot of ways that women can access support, and you're passionate about that too. So, do you want to share with people where they can find you and access your events and everything else that you're creating?
Yep. So you can find me on Instagram, Rainbow Manifestations at Rainbow Manifestations with the S at the end. And I post all of my event flyers on Instagram. And you can also find it on my website, www.rainbowmanifestations.com. I try to just use one platform because I get overwhelmed easily.
Yeah, no, that's completely fine. And it's very, all of these different social media platforms that are popping up, like it can be very, very overwhelming. So having one place where people can find you also will be more ease of access to them as well.
Mhm.
And also you've got your website too. So everything that they need will be available on there. Just one more question before we wrap up. I just wanted to ask you what you wish you knew after experiencing your pregnancy loss.
Um, uh, I don't know why I'm laughing. In my head, like a picture of an encyclopedia opened up, and just like like
Flipping
a
through the pages.
massive list. Yeah. Um, I think when people say like this pain doesn't last forever, and at the time you're like, that's a bunch of bullshit. But it's kind of crazy because I just believe that the pain isn't as intense as it used to be.
Mm,
And I wish I would have like believed when people told me that. Um, like for sure you're going to have your extremely heavy days,
mm,
but you are going to find joy in some more days as well. It's not always going to be 100% sadness or grief. There are going to be moments of joy that poke in. And then just accepting those moments and appreciating those moments. Um, because that I feel like those moments of joy just is like a little ball of light and then it just grows and grows and grows. And that kind of helps you like move through your grief. Um, no one told me that. I mean, people like did say like, this pain doesn't last forever. Um, like I know grieving mothers who've lost like 10 years ago. I met someone who lost her daughter 50 years ago. And like, yeah, it's still heavy. You're gonna have heavy days, anniversaries are going to be heavy, but not every single day is going to be heavy. And that's what I really needed to hear and what I needed to know because I thought that I was going to be depressed and in the depths of my grief, like 365 days out of the year.
Mm.
Um, so I know that's like hard to take in because when someone first told me that, I was just like, whatever. But then I turned around, after 2 years, and I was like, that actually is true.
Mm.
And I mean, I've met a lot of moms who like are so positive and like they grieved differently and they see like the light in everything where I saw the darkness in everything. And I was like, wow, I want to be like her. I want to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel instead of just driving through the tunnel of darkness. So thank God for those moms too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like being able to look at other women who have gone through it and are in a place where you wish you could be, and knowing that that is
Mhm,
possible for you. And they're not
mhm,
these magical unicorn women who, have this special ability. Like that is available to you. And
mhm,
I love, how you said, there'll be moments of joy and that will light that, beautiful light inside of you, and just to witness that and sit with it and be okay that you're experiencing that joy. Um and then those moments of joy will get more and more, and the harder days will get lesser and lesser. And the like you said, you just get to this point where the intensity of it, the heaviness of it, the darkness of it isn't so it isn't so heavy, it isn't so dark. Um and yeah, it is very hard to be able to know that for yourself when you are in the darkness. But
mhm,
if you can just, you know, become a bit more open-minded and go, you know what, like it doesn't feel like it. Maybe I'm not like I don't believe it right now, but maybe it could be possible.
mhm,
And just have that element of just a little bit of being open to, being able to find the light in your life again, even
mhm.
though right now it feels that you're in that tunnel of darkness.
Yeah. And it wasn't something that was like a few weeks after. It was
Mm.
like, when you get to that point and you're like, holy crap. Is my life going to sorry, I curse a lot. um am I going to be, I feel like I woke up one day and I'm like, am I going to feel like this forever? Am
Mm.
I going to be like this sad forever? I needed to know, like, is there someone out there who was able to be happy again or to like laugh without judging themselves or
Mhm.
being feeling guilty about themselves? And I think that's when I accepted it because I was ready to accept it at that time.
Mm.
At the first few months I was just like, no, I think my life's going to be shit forever.
Mm.
But once I gave myself time to heal, and it must have been like maybe a year or something, I think, is actually when I like were met people and I'm like, is this like a forever thing? Because I don't know if I can do this forever.
Yeah. It's very draining and very exhausting
Mhm.
to be in that place and to
Yeah.
feel like you could be there forever. Like it's a very exhausting feeling. Um, but definitely finding the people that are sort of living the way that you want to live, not people that haven't been through it, because, they're not going to be giving you like the reality of it all. Finding people who have navigated it, who have walked your path, and who are on the other side. And if they tell you that it, doesn't last forever, maybe just entertain it, even if it's just a little bit. Even if the first thought's going to be, hell no, I'm going to be here forever.
Yeah.
Because
But then that thought, it jingles around in your head and it'll appear here and there.
yeah, it plants a little seed and
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
yeah. And, it's coming from you today. So, someone listening in is going to hear, your story and what you've been able to do, and to know that, that is possible for them as well to be able to have that light in their life again. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jelissa, for being a part of the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast today.
Yeah. God, what I wish I knew. That's such a good question.
I know.
So many answers.
So many answers.
So little time.
How many episodes do we have?
How many episodes do you have? It has to be like an encyclopedia. Because it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, definitely a lot of conversations I've had now and will have in the future. So, from other people's experiences, from my own experiences, like there's definitely a lot of elements to that pregnancy loss and baby loss, and words that, what we wish we knew. There's so much, so many ways that we can talk about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm really grateful for your time today and for sharing everything that you have been able to share with everyone today. I'll make sure that I link everything in the show notes so that they can find you, they can connect with you, speak with you if they need to. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. I love when people slide in my DMs. I'm always available to talk to random strangers on the internet. But then I just become best friends with everyone. So I love that.
So if you're ready for a bestie, definitely reach out to you.
I lost mom bestie. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm here.
I love it. Thank you to all that have listened in. If this episode was valuable to you, I invite you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode. Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at Institute of Healing_PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.